Hey guys, welcome to my comparison video for the Equate, Equate Plus, Aqua Control Plus from Xraypads. This isn't really a true review video. I'm just going to go over the surface field differences and the speed differences and some other stuff, I guess. So right off the bat, we'll start with the base. It comes with your OEM rubber base. Kind of what do you expect on most pads. The difference between the Equate and the other pads here is that the Equate is currently only available in the 3mm version. So it's a bit more firm compared to the 4mm versions, which have a bit more plush to it. And although they have the exact same stitching and base, the 4mm version is a bit more sticky to your desk just due to the softness, and the stitching is a bit more flush to the pad. Personally, I wouldn't let that deter you though. They're pretty similar. The firmness is noticeable, but the stitching is very soft on all these pads, and I had no issues with them doing vertical movements. I also had no issues with the base actually slipping on my desk, even with the older 3mm base. That is a complaint that people had with the older 3mm bases, that it moved a lot on your desk. But personally, I don't know if I just got a newer batch or if it's something to do with my surface desk material, but I had no issues with the Equate slipping or any of the other pads slipping even a millimeter. So I wouldn't let that deter you. I actually personally like the Equate the most just because it's similar to the speed profile I like the most, but regardless, we'll get into the surface feel. The best way to describe the Equate is if you were to imagine using a basketball, it has that very similar, like dimpled kind of feeling surface, maybe a bit tighter than a basketball, but it really does feel close to like as if a basketball was made out of cloth. That's the type of feeling I get on my fingers and arm. So it might seem like a weird comparison, but it's the best one I have. The Equate Plus feels the exact same way, but it's not coated, but it feels almost as if it had a coating. It kind of feels like a hard surface version of the Equate almost. That's the kind of roughness you get from it. It's a pretty unique feeling. I haven't felt a pad like this. It kind of reminds me of like Glorious Ice or Shidenkai, I guess, where it's not coated, but it kind of feels like it has some sort of particles added to it, which I believe they actually do in the weave, but it's not a coating. It's actually part of the cloth that has those particles. So it's a pretty unique feeling, and so far I like them both a lot. The Aqua Control Plus surface feeling. Keep in mind I have a graphic design on mine, so it's gonna be a bit smoother due to the heat press from the graphic being applied. But honestly, it's still, I imagine this other graphic, it's not too crazy. It's not, the Equate Plus is actually rougher feeling than the Aqua Control Plus. And yeah, this feels a lot more cloth-like than the Equate Plus, but it's nothing crazy. None of these pads are too rough where I wouldn't recommend them. I'd recommend any one of these over any regular cloth pad, like a QCK or any sort of HyperX pad or Razor pad, just because the durability and humidity resistance will be a lot better. You also have tons of sizing options, obviously, but regardless, surface feel, try to stay on topic. It's really not bad. It's like just slightly rough. If we're going to use sports ball comparisons, I guess it's like a tennis ball that if you shave down the green material a bit on it, it kind of feels like felty. That was like shaved down to the bare minimum almost. But it's nothing. None of these pads are too crazy. Again, I'll just reiterate that. Speed wise, the Equate is the slowest, with it being like slow to very slow, almost like pretty much GSR levels. But it's pretty unique in that you have a good amount of dynamic friction, and the actual micro movements on the Equate are very controlled, but your dynamic movements are relatively fast with really good stopping power. The Equate Plus is a step up in speed with very similar characteristics, probably much higher dynamic friction, but it still retains a lot of that stopping power. But the speed difference is noticeable. The Aqua Control Plus speed and the Equate Plus speed are almost exactly similar, at least with the graphic version of it. In some instances, I thought the Equate Plus was faster depending on what mouse and mouse skates I was using, In some instances, I thought the Aqua Control Plus was faster, depending on what mouse skates I was using. So I'd say the Equate Plus is a little bit different with depending on what type of mouse skates you're using. If you're using Tiger Arc ones or Core pads, some sort of soft PTFE skates will be fine. But I found the Equate Plus with kind of harder Tiger Arc 2 Imagine or stock, cheaper stock skates like Razor Viper Mini. Just cheaper skates and stock skates in general will feel a bit faster on the Equate Plus compared to the Aqua Control Plus. But that probably has something to do with kind of the hard, almost coating, not actually a coating, but very coating like feeling of the pad. Um, and uniqueness wise, probably the Equate and the Equate Plus are the two most unique pads here. There's a lot of hybrid pads like the Aqua Control Plus available. Um, but because of the sizing options you have and the price with worldwide shipping, it's still a really solid pad, especially now that they have their 4mm options available for these pads. If you want something a bit more unique, the Equate and the Equate Plus are definitely options, but the regular Equate is probably definitely on the slower side, especially if you're playing Apex. I'd probably get the Equate Plus just for some better tracking capabilities that you have with it while still retaining that control. And it feels really cool to use, so that's a plus, I guess. But either way, they're all very solid pads, and you can't go wrong with any one of them. And I'd recommend them over any basic cloth pad. And yeah, again, you can't really go wrong with these. They're kind of staples, I feel like, especially the Equate and Aqua Control Plus. Aqua Control Plus is a really popular pad, so if you're wondering if you should pick one up, uh, it's definitely an option. Uh, it's a very popular option. You can't really go wrong with this. So, anyways, thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe. I'll try to do full reviews on the Equate, especially. So that may take a few weeks because I want to make sure to break it in. But either way, peace.